Hey girl, this is Tolex, your host for today's episode of Girl Power Podcast. I am very excited to present to you this amazing and impactful environmentalist from India, Sahar Monsoor. Sahar is a University of Cambridge alumna with a background in environmental policy. She formerly worked at the World Health Organization in Geneva and SELCO Foundation on renewable energy projects. Most recently, Sahar became a climate reality leader, and she is also the founder and CEO at Bare Necessities, a hub for zero waste living in India. For her work in changing the narrative on Western India, Sahar has been recognized by Google India as the most inspiring India of the year in 2017. MTV India, in association with Jockey Woman, also featured her as one of 6 women redefining career paths of the 21st century in 2018. So let's welcome our special guest, Sahar.
I'm Isha from India.
I am Angel from the Philippines.
I am Tolex from Laos.
I'm Monica from the United States, and we are Girl Power.
Girl Power.
Girl Power.
Girl Power.
Confident,
Compassionate,
and connected.
I would like to welcome our special guest, Sahar. I also would like to begin by asking a bit of your background. So could you please share with us about your journey as an advocate for the environment? How did you become an advocate for environmental protection, and specifically, what was your inspiration and motivation behind your advocacy for the environment?
That's a great question. Honestly, I think I've been a little environmentalist since I was a 3-year-old. And that's largely because I spent so much time in nature with my dad, my 2 big sisters. And, family holidays always meant jumping into waterfalls and coffee picking. But I think I only started identifying myself and calling myself an environmentalist when I moved to college. And specifically, actually, in my second year, I watched this short documentary of this lady named Pia Johnson, who was living this, low impact lifestyle. And she had a jar like this big with all of the waste that she, her 2 kids, and her husband had produced all in like 4 years. And I remember being extremely inspired by this, but also thinking that, it's just not possible for me. I have 3 jobs, I have a scholarship to maintain, I possibly don't have the time to do all of the things that she's doing. And that course was honestly something that really, really inspired me. And after that, actually, I walked into my dean's office and I said, Dean Saleza, you don't have the major I want. And he said, what do you mean? We have like 500 majors here. And I said, but I want to take environmental science in the science department, but I want to take environmental policy in the liberal arts college. And we basically highlighted every course that was offered in my university that had anything to do with the environment. And that was my major, and that's how we created it. So fast forwarding few years, I moved back to India in 2015, and I was working in a renewable energy company. And my gosh, I've learned so many lessons from field work. It's such a humbling process, working largely with communities that are in underserved areas or in rural or remote areas where there is no energy access. The electricity grid doesn't work there. So I think, spending all of those, that time basically in rural India, largely with our farmers who I think basically do the most important job of feeding all of us, the entire country. And, I think that was something that, again, I confronted with a lot of environmental issues from a very ground up perspective. And so I think a lot of things, there were lots of little moments that led me to a more environmental journey. And I think that being one of them. So working with this community to help them basically get energy access. I think electricity is so important and renewable energy is so important because without electricity, medicines can't be refrigerated. Kids can't finish their school, kids can't study, machinery can't work. And in those situations, economies will not improve. So when I was looking honestly for a career path, it was a no-brainer for me to actually want to work in the energy access space or in the waste space, because I thought that was the best way to create impact while creating a more environmentally just world.
Wow. I would say that you I mean, like, I could picture you as a very ambitious girl since you were very like young, or like just like at 3 years old, but you have this like ambitious mind of protecting the environment. And I would say that it is very impressive that your childhood, it's quite attached to the environment. And after growing up, or even going to university, you still surround yourself with environmental settings, and this really shows that you're very ambitious in this field and you really want to create an impact in protecting the environment. Which is very, very impressive to me. So, as you mentioned, that there are many ways that we can make an impact on the community. It's like especially saving the environment. So I believe that many people must be wondering about your first initiative in saving the environment in your own community. So could you please share with us a bit about it, and how did you start it back then?
Yeah, great question. So honestly, like I said, I was working in the renewable energy space, and I was specifically actually working with waste pickers, and they were migratory communities. So they were living in informal housing, so blue top homes with no access to electricity. And what we did was we put solar panels on the tea stall, which is just like a small informal vendor, and basically when every morning when they'd go there for their cup of morning tea or chai, they would give their little battery for charge. They would go on for a day's work, come back, and they'll have a fully charged battery that they plug into their solar lantern. And working with this community made me really think about a lot of waste related issues, because to be honest, before that, I was at the University of Cambridge, being a little environmental nerd, thinking I want to be a professor. um, and then I worked at the World Health Organization, so then I started thinking about more health related issues associated with our waste problem, for example. But honestly, moving back to India, I think a lot of ground realities really hit me, and I pushed away my more almost elitist academic perspective, and embraced kind of learning from grassroots and what's really happening based on implementation on the ground. And I would follow basically the waste pickers around Bangalore city, where I'm from, on my cycle. And I was, of course, noticing the situation in which they were collecting all of our waste. And I noticed our waste infrastructure needs massive upgrade. We really need to invest in it. I also realized about the social justice issues associated with our waste problem, because they are segregating broken glass, sanitary napkins, diapers, all with their absolute bare naked hand, without any protective gear or equipment or anything. So some of the people that I worked with have also lost their thumb because of going through waste to kind of get that high value recyclable, and losing a thumb because there was broken glass in there as well. So I think for me, I started doing what I knew I could do best, which was live a very kind of low impact lifestyle, one that kind of reduces waste as much as possible. So this was very like a personal pledge for me. This is just because I wanted to live my values, and that was honestly the only way I knew how, which was to stop being part of this problem. And slowly, my colleagues would say, "Hey, what are you doing? Why aren't you using that straw from the coconut vendor?" Or so I would just kind of explain a little bit about trying to live a low impact lifestyle or a zero waste lifestyle, and slowly it just kind of caught on. And then I did my first ever little workshop around waste and the environmental, health, and social justice issues associated with our waste problem. And then from there, a colleague of mine connected me with a friend of hers who's running this huge event and wanted me to do a workshop from there. And then from there, I did another one. So then it just kind of snowballed. And basically, I spent all of my weekends doing talks and workshops around waste and sustainability and making this topic fun and accessible, so we could just reach more people. So that was kind of how we started.
Wow, that was very, very impressive that you could have done a lot of things at um, at that time that you were working at school, and you also started this kind of initiative at the same time. Which is very, very impressive as an environmentalist. So as I can see that per your work in changing the narrative on West in India, I was wondering how evolved into what you're doing today as the founder of the social enterprise Bare Necessities. So you were I mean, you worked formally with World Health Organization and also as ELCO Foundation on renewable energy projects, and now you're building your own social enterprise. So could you please share with us how you could evolve this from your initiative to working with organizations, and then to building your own enterprise?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great segue actually from our last question. So honestly, I think, while doing these little workshops, it just kind of spiraled, right? So I think I got excited about basically changing people's mindsets around waste and sustainability in India, and then also beyond. And I thought the best, most easy way to visualize a zero waste lifestyle was through products, because otherwise it just sounds very philosophical or very theoretical and academic. But when you say, hey, what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? And presumably most people say, I brush my teeth. And you ask them, what is your toothbrush made out of? And it's mostly plastic. And then you're just kind of giving them an example that you can use a bamboo toothbrush, or you can use a miswak stick, or a neem stick. And these are all completely compostable options that go back to the earth. So I think the products were a very, very tangible way to visualize your impact. And I think also when you're in the environmental space, sometimes it can get a little disheartening because you don't know what impact you're creating, right? You might be cycling or whatever, and then the emissions are still something. And sometimes you think that you need to be a very big organization, you need to be the government, or you need to be, a part of a larger organization to create large scale impact. But actually, we can all do our part. And I think changing that narrative from someone else to kind of putting back the ball in your court and saying that actually you have the power with your consumption choices to reduce your carbon footprint, waste footprint, and thereby kind of affect the environment, the health, and everything that goes along the way with some of those goals that you really care about. That was a game changer.
Wow. Right.
Yeah, that's why Bare Necessities was created, to make it easy and accessible for anyone else who was looking to consume more mindfully.
That's very nice, because I can see that I think the key in order to keep driving or going for what we really care about, it's actually our belief and also our confidence in what we are passionate about, that, and also what we believe that it would create an impact, like a tangible one, as you mentioned, in our community. So I really, really agree with you. And I'm also sure that a lot of people are share this mindset with you as well. And of course, it's undeniable to face a lot of challenges while going for this goal or this thing that you want to make changes. So I would like to ask you, what was the biggest challenge for you before your achievement as the founder of Bare Necessities, and what were the steps that you have taken in order to overcome that challenge?
Yeah, I think that's a great one. And I think we don't talk about challenges enough. Often just celebrate all of the successes, but we forget to acknowledge actually the hard times. So that's a really great question. Thank you for that. I think life is, there are filled with challenges. Social entrepreneurs have plenty of challenges. If you're a founder of any enterprise, whether it's a social or non-social enterprise, it's quite hard. It sometimes can be quite a lonely journey as well. But I think for me, it was access to finance. I work with a single mom. I worked in the development space before that, in the renewable energy space. It's not a high-paying sector. I didn't have the luxury of asking a parent like a dad for some amount of capital to start the business, which is quite common practice actually in India. And then I think access to just the right skill sets. Like I wanted to formulate these amazing products, but I've never studied like chemistry or formulations or anything like that. So I didn't have the formal academic background for that. And then in early days, I think trying to raise funds is really hard if you're a 25-year-old single founder trying to kind of raise a round of capital to grow. It's quite hard because people might not take you seriously, or they think you might kind of move quickly, or they might assume a bunch of societal roles associated with like marriage and all of that stuff. So I think raising capital is quite hard as a female founder as it is, and if you're younger, that's even then harder. So I think how did we overcome some of those challenges was honestly I've done so many failed pitches with people and investors, and then I decided that I'm going to just completely stop, and I'm just going to concentrate and build my business. And whatever revenue we got, we invested it back into the business, and we were on a positive per unit economic level, we're positive, and we were just growing and growing, very kind of gradual and slowly, but we were. And then we started to get noticed, and then investors kind of started approaching us. So I think that was a really good lesson I learned. And also, I think you sometimes focus on raising capital so you can meet XXX expenses. But I think what you can do is also bucket it and say, hey, okay, can I get free office space? Can I apply to a certain accelerator that would give me that? Or can I work out of my mom's garage, which is what we do. Welcome to Bear headquarters, which is literally my mom's garage. Then you look at, hey, can I apply for competitions that can give me X amount of marketing dollars with, whatever social enterprise, whatever marketing agency. So, so you just kind of try a bunch of little things, and you basically meet your financial pie by applying for various other things and maximizing whatever you do have to go a little longer. So we applied to a bunch of grants. We were, sure to apply for our Startup India registration, which helped us get 50% off on all of our trademarks filing and patent filing and all that stuff. So we were just really like strategic and hardworking in terms of, being really organized on what we can do. So I think that really helped. And then, so I think that was some things that I learned. I think surrounding yourself with amazing, positive people has been really good. Everyone on my team I'm honestly inspired by and excited by. And I think together you uplift each other. So I think another thing I learned to overcome challenges is surround yourself with people you respect and admire, and that you constantly keep learning from.
Wow, I totally agree with you on that, because in order to overcome the challenge, the most important thing is the team to support you and to go with you in order to achieve the common goal. So that is very, very inspirational to other people who are facing the same challenge, because I believe that the financial excess, it's one of the most difficult thing to overcome, but as you said, that try to break down solutions in order to overcome the challenge, and also with the team and the support from your team, you will be able to overcome that challenge, right? So now let's talk about your current pursuit, Bare Necessities, as a social enterprise that produces zero waste personal and lifestyle products. And personally, I find it very fantastic. And since we all can see that social entrepreneurship is an effective way to maximize social impact while sustaining resources to function in order to achieve our goal. So, and I also believe that many people would love to hear more about your current enterprise. So could you please share with us a bit about the reason that you decided to run your own social entrepreneurship, focusing on this area, zero waste living, and what kind of impacts that it attempt to make precisely?
Yeah, definitely. So essentially, while I started living this zero waste lifestyle, I found it quite difficult to find the products that are alternatives to plastic free products. And to find products that aren't packaged in plastic, loaded with chemicals that I can't even pronounce, I don't even recognize. So Bare Necessities was created with the premise that we can create amazing, high quality, zero waste products
Mhm.
made and formulated with all natural ingredients, really kind of channeling our Indian heritage. So using things like turmeric and annatto, so really celebrating the Indian found ingredients, and very tangible products that will help you divert your waste that would otherwise kind of just land up in the landfills or oceans. So, for example, our stainless steel straw, you can buy one and literally it will last you a lifetime. It's made from stainless steel that's certified, that's FDA approved, and that's it. That's all. You just need one. And where I'm from, I'm South Indian, and it's very, very common for you to use steel plates in your house, steel glasses, your jars and everything in the kitchen and storeroom are all made from steel. In fact, when people get married, they give them a lot of the steel cookery and everything with the initials of the couple engraved on it. So it was something that was actually quite traditionally Indian when we started. Then in my the miswak stick and the neem stick as well. They've been using it since the Indus Valley civilization and the Babylonian civilization. So it was almost kind of very nostalgic of things we used to do, but also be a knowledge hub. So we thought that if we spread awareness and empowering people with information, and I think information is powerful, and that's kind of what we started. So we did a bunch of talks and workshops. We created an online course because it was not physically possible for us to be in Delhi and Hyderabad all on the same weekend. So we created a self-paced online course for you to go zero waste in 30 days. And it's got a bunch of talks, but DIY videos of how you can do it yourself. It's got a bunch of experts who share their opinions and insights. These are basically people who I love and respect deeply and have really influenced my environmental journey. And we've kind of roped and curated all of these experts, 100 plus resources that you can read, articles and stuff that I've loved, activities. So this online kind of course has been become built a little community, and you can see people kind of interacting with each other. So yeah, essentially that's Bare Necessities, where our physical product store and a knowledge hub. Um, yeah, so essentially all things about sustainability in India and beyond.
That's really nice. So besides like having a social enterprise producing products, but you also create like a community where people can actually interact and also promote this awareness of zero waste living. So this is very, very, I think it's an effective way in order to not just produce, but also to disseminate information and spread the knowledge, as you mentioned earlier. So, and so I think that it's one of the things that I think a lot of social enterprises here and many other regions can learn from this. And speaking of raising people's awareness of zero waste living, I believe that a lot of people might not know, especially maybe like for example in my community in Laos, that a lot of people do not really or are not really aware of the environmental issue caused by plastic pollution, or because as we can see in our daily life, a lot of people are still using plastics, and not a lot of people use the items that can be used many times and do not cause like plastic pollution. So in order to raise those people's awareness, could you please share with us like how they can contribute to saving their environment on their daily basis, and or like if there are any basic things that they can do in order to be a part of preventing like further damage to our environment?
Yeah. Sorry, can you just summarize again your question really quickly? What is the advice that you give people,
Yeah.
to understand plastic pollution? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I think just visualizing the problem has been powerful, and I think story and imagery has been powerful for really kind of educating people on plastic pollution and driving that message home. Whether that is the video that went totally viral with the straw stuck in the turtle's nostrils and it bleeding while the straw is being tried to take be removed, or when you get any kind of fast moving consumer good drinks in like 6 cans, soft drink or whatever, and then the little plastic of the 6 that go in it, and you've seen that um, growth has been totally distorted because a turtle is stuck in one of those little rounds, etc. I think imagery has been really powerful to just kind of articulate the impact, the detrimental environmental impact of our obsession with consumption and overconsumption. And the FMCG industry, as we know it, has produced and polluted so much and has not seen any innovation in 30 years, and that just blows my mind. Um, and I mean, I don't want to discount what it's done for women, because I think it made a lot of food accessible. It allowed women to go to the workforce and kind of participate, etc., by having kind of convenient goods. But I think it was done in a way that was very irresponsible. But also maybe they didn't know enough then. But now we can give that same excuse. We have so much research. We know that there is microplastics in the rain. Even babies are born with, showing that they have microplastics in it. Breast milk now has microplastics in it. Your gut has microplastics in it. On an average, everyone is consuming a size worth a credit card of plastic in just the food that we eat. So I think honestly, it's up to us to really understand the environmental impact, but also the health impacts on your own human health. Because if we are trying to, produce that much of plastic, and we're trying to put it in the same soil in which you're trying to grow your food, or the same, the same groundwater that then you're going to drink, you're basically contaminating yourself. So I think also highlighting the co-benefits has been really helpful. For example, when I started living with my mom and I moved back to India, we got a cardboard box of fresh vegetables from a local farm that was sent to us. And my mom was so used to buying the groceries now from packaged in plastic, but she loves yoga. She's quite health conscious, and for me, it was like fresh, chemical free, and plastic free produce, right? But for her, when she started eating it, she just loved the quality of it, and she could tell like she just loved the quality of the food. So I think it's finding that health benefit, and also knowing who you're trying to communicate with and see what is in it for them. So articulating these co-benefits is something that has been a game changer, and I think it will continue to be a game changer for us to have environmental wins. We need to show that there are social wins, economic wins, health wins. So I think that's what's been a total game changer.
That's very new for us to know, and I think it would be very useful for those people out there who want to encourage people in the community, especially, for example, for me, to encourage people in my community to change, or to see what are the benefits of zero waste living. That there are many benefits that they probably do not know about, and yeah, I think that would be very helpful. So thank you so much for sharing with us about that. So I think before we ending this part of sharing about your social enterprise, I would probably just ask you this question: that in your belief, how do you think we can achieve our joy force or mission in saving the environment together?
How is it going to be achieved? I
Yes.
think it's going to be achieved by massive reconstruction of everything we're doing. Honestly, we need to rewire, re-engineer, redesign what we teach kids at school, how we design cities, how we consume, how we live. And I think COVID has been a good time for us to all reflect and introspect on that. And I'm really positive that we're going to really live in a cleaner, more just, environmental and socially just world post-pandemic. And I think we're going to live in more harmony with nature because we're realizing that it's going to have tons of negative impacts on human health, and the loss totally outweighs the few corrective measures that we can do to basically reduce our footprint and act now and act fast.
Okay, I actually agree with you on the point that COVID has really shown us that it is best that we try to actually live with our nature, and it would require our joint effort or our massive reconstruction in order to save the environment successfully, and also, of course, to live sustainably, and also to live with one another harmoniously. So at the very last last part of our session, as we know that you are a climate reality leader, what would you like to tell other people out there? As you know that there will be a lot of audience watching or listening to this episode. Do you have any words to encourage them to start stepping up and to embrace the environment and also protect it all together?
Yeah, definitely. Great question. I think there's this really lovely Chinese proverb, and it says, the best time was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. And I think that's very, very applicable to a lot of environmental issues that we're facing. And yeah, I had the privilege and honor of being trained in Brisbane as a climate reality leader with former Vice President Al Gore. And what really stuck with me was we listened to a lot of indigenous community members from South Asia. Everyone has this rich heritage of indigenous knowledge, and this was in Australia, so there was the Aboriginal community who was really sharing about environmental practices that Australia traditionally used to follow. And I think honestly, my one advice is really simple. Let's kind of embrace the lifestyle that our grandmothers and grandparents led, because it was one that had a lighter footprint on the environment. And I think the time is now, and that's what I would love to emphasize. And our actions do matter. If we all segregate our waste, if we all compost our food waste, that's literally about 60 to 70% of waste that's even going out from your house. So if everything is mixed, we're going to make it really hard for things to break down, and virtually nothing is going to get recycled or upcycled or downcycled, and it'll all just land up in the oceans or the landfills. And we are reaching our tipping point. Today we're speaking on World Offshoot Day. So I think the time is now, and maybe rethink and reimagine a more environmentally just world. And we need to really be cognizant about the environment that we want to hand over to our kids, our nieces, our nephews, and kind of re-examine our actions and know that our actions have the power to create large-scale impact. The power is in our hands, so can't wait to act now.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is very wonderful and also powerful words to those people out there, including me. I believe that a lot of people would learn from this inspirational talk, and of course to learn a lot about what they can actually do, or what kind of action that they can take as an individual, because what matters the most at the end of the day is that each of us actually takes action in order to achieve this together, right? So thank you so much, Sahar, for joining me in this episode, and I really and also my team as well as the audience really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for thinking me worthy of this podcast interview. I've had a blast talking to you, and hope you did too.
Yes, of course. I learned so much from you. Thank you so much, and yeah, I think we can end this.